If I could go back and talk to me in that moment, I would really try and encourage myself to just understand that there's a plan, that God has a plan, and that I've got something to do. You know, I've got something bigger. My perspective now, whether this is correct or not, is that my mom and sister almost had to, sacrifice themselves in a way so that I could understand that we had this sort of generational curse with substance abuse. And, we were prone to using these substances to comfort ourselves.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
So today I've got Craig Kiriokos with me, and
You did it.
I nailed it. I've always referred to Craig as Craig Karaoke.
Yeah.
That's how he is to my kids, so
I'm no stranger to that.
I had to practice his name. But Craig's a local realtor, and he's got a crazy cool story, and so I just wanted you, Craig, to kind of share your story today. Could you take us back to wherever you want?
Yeah, sure. It kind of depends on how far you want to go back, but I guess I'll start where it feels natural, and we can kind of go from there. So I, growing up, was never like, I was very average, middle class, didn't come from money. So my parents divorced when I was 2. My dad was in the Marine Corps. My mom, for a long time, was a stay-at-home mom, took care of my sister and I. And so after they split, it was my mom, my sister, and I. My sister's, she was 19 months younger than I. And I always describe my mom as a free spirit. She was very much, I always felt like she was searching for something. And I don't know what it was, but we moved around a lot. I was born in Southern California, and we've lived in, I'll just list a couple places off. We've lived in Las Vegas, Henderson, right outside of Las Vegas. Lived in Minnesota, Alabama, a couple different places in California. Lived in Georgia for a short time. We just really bounced all over the place. Yeah. And, it's funny. I used to think that was not like a disability, but something that, when I talk to people, there's a lot of folks that, they grew up in one spot. They've got lifelong friends that they went to elementary school with, and, they've got a huge network. Everyone in town knows them, and they're able to leverage that. And it's something that I never had. And so I used to think of it as sort of a disability. But that perspective was shifted. One day I was talking with someone and kind of going through this, and he was like, well, do you think that helped you to be able to like adapt to different situations? Sure. Different locations, connect with different people and all that. And so that seed kind of, got planted. And now I think of it as an advantage. It really did, from a young age, allow me to connect with different people from different areas and, walks of life.
Not being limited to a certain group of friends.
Yeah. And I think it expanded my worldview a little bit.
Sure.
But let's see. So grew up with my mom and my sister. My sister and I were very close. We were best friends growing up. I have a half brother as well who's 5 years older. And he lived with us kind of on and off a couple times when we were kids. And, had a great relationship with him as well, or have a great relationship. So I guess it was everything for me, and like real estate in my professional career started in Las Vegas in about 2008. At the time, I was an assistant manager at Best Buy. So Best Buy was my first job. Started there selling computers back when we had like the PC towers, the big CRT monitors and all that.
Big glass.
I remember, at Best Buy, they kept them up on like all around the outside wall of the store. On the inside, they had those really tall shelves, and they had those ladders that you'd have to push around with the platform at the top. And I remember we'd sell these PC packages, and it consisted of like the desktop, the CRT monitor, the printer, and like all these accessories. and having to run around and grab those 80-pound monitors from up over your head and everything. I always was afraid I was going to drop it on some kid standing below me or whatever. But anyway, so working at Best Buy, and, real estate wasn't even on my radar for a long time. It was my mom, actually, who had sort of planted that seed. At the time, she was working as she was a nurse, but she was working as a, what do they call it? Like a surgical technician. And so she was making pretty good money. I was making decent money. I'm probably like 20, 21. I was on salary. I was making 60, 65,000 a year. And at the time I was very happy with that. And I saw Best Buy as, my career. It's, I used to say I bleed blue, and I loved it. I had a great time there. And one day she had planted the seed. She was like, with both of our income, and my credit, we could start buying houses and rent them out and, do this and do that. And the amount of resistance I had to that idea at first was, in hindsight, really surprising. I was so afraid of doing anything with real estate, mostly because of the W-2. I had a salary with Best Buy. I felt like I was making good money, and I really saw that as my career. And I was very resistant to giving that up or, spending time doing other things. And so anyway, a little bit of time passed, and it really was probably like 6 months. And I started asking myself, like, well, could I buy a house? Like, can I do that? And at the time I was renting an apartment. It was
This is 2008, whenever anyone could buy a house, right?
Yeah, anyone. I mean, and it's funny, in hindsight, I didn't know that it wasn't abnormal to just go to like a new construction site. And like, I didn't have to give pay stubs. I didn't have to give tax returns or anything. I mean, the house was, it was $219,000, and I think I did give pay stubs, but I mean, the payment, in hindsight, looking at this, I don't know how I qualified for the payment. I don't know how I got that house, but I remember it was a 6% adjustable rate, and I was stoked. I thought it was great. And, my plan was I was going to live in the house for a year or two and then move out, try and buy another house and put a renter in there and kind of duplicate that. So it was, I guess, before I knew what like the BRRRR strategy was, or buy and hold.
Are you and your mom talking about your strategy, or is this just what you've kind of come up with?
No. So it was 100% me. So at that time I was, I had just gotten married really young. It was a bad idea. But my ex was not the biggest fan of my mom. So one of the things that kind of plagued my mom through her adult life was substances. And it wasn't like recreational substance abuse, but she had had both of her knees replaced, both rotator cuffs. She had a back surgery and a neck surgery, and pain medications were just a part of her life. And so at the time, my wife at the time didn't like that, and was just kind of didn't really want to have my mom around, and so that definitely fed into my psyche, and I spent a lot less time with my mom than I normally would have.
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link.
I guess it comes to actually, I'll tell you exactly when. It was February 10th. 2010, I believe. I got a call. So my wife at the time and I were taking a break. I was staying with a buddy. And I remember I was over at a friend's house. We were taking his big Blu-ray collection, and we were taking all the digital downloads and putting them on his computer and doing all that. And I get a random call from my sister, and she says my mom had an accident and that I need to go to the hospital. And so I finish things up there, head to the hospital, and that's when I found out that my mom was in a coma. And she had basically, she was on her balcony off of her master bedroom, walking back in. It appears she tripped on something and she had hit her head on her way down. And so we don't know how long she was like that before my sister had come over and found her. But the doctor said it was probably a few hours. And so they put her in a medically induced coma to try and get her to come back. And so that, at that time I was basically going through a split with my ex. Mom's in a coma. Don't really know what to do. That lasts about 5 days. And then one day, I'd gotten a call from the hospital, said the doctor needed to speak with me, asked that I come in. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon. And I come in, and he pulls me in the room, and he basically says, "Hey, you're next of kin, and so we need to talk with you and explain what's going on with your mom." He breaks it all down and says, in a nutshell, he doesn't think that at this point she's going to be able to recover. And what he recommended was that they go ahead and terminate life support and let her go.
That's hard.
Yeah, it was brutal.
And you're 22, 23?
I was, I believe I was 22. And so that happened that afternoon, and I was just in a complete, state of shock. What was really hard was that they wouldn't let us be in the room while they did it.
Oh.
And so we got to say our goodbyes, and then they took us out. They turned off the life support, and 20-30 minutes later they let us come back in. And just seeing her like that was was brutal. And I should add that at that time I had also recently started a pain management program with a doctor. I had a what I know now is a minor injury in my low back, and that was kind of chalked up to be something more than it actually was. And so that wasn't serious at that time, but I was taking opioids for that pain management treatment. And at that time, so I'm going through a divorce. We had decided to separate. Just lost my mom. I tried to fill that time and that void with work. And
you're still at Best Buy?
Still at Best Buy. And everyone kept trying, they kept telling me, go home, take some time. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to process. I ended up, a matter of days or a week later, after my mom passed, I had a cousin who was out in Maryland. He was stationed there. And he said, "Hey, man, come out for a couple weeks and just spend some time with me. I'll take some time off. We'll just hang out and just, be together." So I did that, and it was kind of refreshing being out there and getting away from everything. And so I spent 3 weeks there and kind of made the snap decision that, this is kind of what I need to do. I need to get away from Las Vegas and try something new. And so that's what I did. I transferred to a Best Buy out there and got a job. What happened though was I never grieved. I never processed that loss. And a few months later, it was 6 months after my mom passed, I got a call from my dad, and I was at work, and he's crying. I remember running back to the warehouse in the back of the store and kind of got away from the noise. And he tells me that there was an accident and my sister passed in her sleep. And there was something about that I couldn't even process it. I didn't know.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't know what to do at all. And that was, I think, really the turning point where I fell into substance abuse as a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. So it went from, having access to opioids through my pain management treatment to now I'm using them as a way to numb the pain, and I'm also drinking a lot. Eating.
You're mixing the two.
And I'm just, it's a terrible lifestyle. I'm eating garbage, eating ice cream for breakfast and lunch and dessert and, popping pills and drinking tequila. And it was a mess, man. And I went downhill fast.
If you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. One of the first guys I interviewed, his name was Jason Reese, and that's what he was doing.
Was it?
Pain meds and alcohol.
Yeah. It's a brutal,
it just spiraled.
Brutal combo.
And so many things would trigger it.
Yeah.
And it was so hard to break. How did you... I have two questions. Number one, if you could go back, I was going to ask this later, but I'm going to ask it now. If you could go back and talk to your 22-year-old self, what would you tell Craig to do different, number one? And the other thing I'm curious about is, well, maybe answer that and then.
Yeah. If I could go back and talk to me in that moment, I would really try and encourage myself to just understand that there's a plan, that God has a plan, and that I've got something to do. I've got something bigger, and now my perspective, I don't know if this answers the question, but my perspective now, whether this is correct or not, is that my mom and sister had to, I think, almost had to, sacrifice themselves in a way so that I could understand that we had this sort of like generational curse or, whatever it was, with substance abuse. And, we were prone to using these substances to comfort ourselves or, whatever it is. And so
Craig, everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just you and your family.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Everyone
not
wants to escape.
There's lots of things people do to cope.
Mm-hmm.
And drugs and alcohol is the obvious we always point to, but people cope with shopping and Coca-Cola.
And the other Coke.
And sugar.
Yeah.
And work.
Yeah.
A lot of men escape their responsibilities by going to work. I mean, you kind of mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. You dive into something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be like it might be an attempt to control more of what's going on in your life.
Sure. It's what you can control.
Yeah.
Everything else feels chaotic.
Yes. And that's exactly how I felt at that time. It was chaos. And I think the issue was I didn't see, like at the time, I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. I didn't see a way out. I just kind of thought like, I'm not ever going to do anything. Eventually, soon, this is all going to come to an end. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but I had no forward vision. I couldn't see anything.
Sure.
And I guess you could say my rock bottom was when I was renting a room from a guy, and it was a cheap room. It was like $500 a month. But I came to a month where I didn't have rent, and I was like 20 days late. So the next month was coming up, and he kind of confronts me as I'm coming in the house one day, and he's like, "Hey man, hate to do this, but you need to pay rent like today or you got to go." And I had not responded the right way, but I was like, "You can't just kick me out. I've got a lease agreement. You can't kick me out," and all this. And he didn't hesitate. He got in my face, and he was like, "If you don't get the F out of my house, I'll call the sheriff and have him drag you out." And I was like, okay. So I packed my stuff up and literally drove, I don't know, half a mile down the road to a park. And I had a Honda Civic. I had my mattress ratchet strapped to the roof and everything like loaded up in the back. And I was sitting at this park, and I was like destitute. I had no idea what to do or where to go or anything. And so I spent 2 days at this park. I slept in my car, and then I'd like get out and walk around and just hang out around this park and trying to figure out what I was going to do.
Do you still have your job at Best Buy?
No, actually. So I had lost my job at Best Buy. I think the substance abuse and like at that time I was actually seeing multiple doctors, and I think it was affecting my performance at work. So we had a conversation. They let me go, and I had gotten a job selling cars it was like a Cadillac and VW dealership, and so I was doing that. Obviously not doing well.
Sure.
And I didn't have any prospects. I didn't have anything. And at the time, my dad and I weren't like estranged, but he didn't know any of this was going on. Zero clue. We didn't talk much, and so I just don't think he just didn't have any idea what I was going through. And I called him up one day, and this was kind of like my last ditch effort to kind of get myself out of this. And I just I came clean. I spilled everything, sitting on the phone sobbing. And in that moment, he made a deal with me, and he said, if you can get out here to California, if you can get out here, you can stay with me. He said, I'm not going to pay any of your bills. I'm not going to give you any money, but you can sleep here. You can stay here under one condition, and that's that you have to get sober, and you have to do something. And so I didn't have any money, but I had random stuff in my car, an Xbox. I had a computer, games, things like that. And went to a pawn shop and sold everything I could. Xbox, camera, computer, literally everything I had. Had like $400, and I made the road trip to California and stayed with my dad. He was very, very helpful. I guess in a fatherly way. Like he didn't.
Tough love.
It was tough love. But I think it's what I needed.
Yeah, for sure.
You
didn't need I
didn't need someone to come like
supportive.
Hold me.
You're so bad, Craig. I'm sorry that happened.
Come here, let me fix it for you. No, I needed someone that would help me see from a different perspective what was going on in my life.
I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.